There are no more questions about the Trans-Bay Cable. The energy efficiency is another major subject of our report. Under AB 117, CCAs are eligible to apply to administer public goods charge funds for energy efficiency. Currently, San Francisco ratepayers are paying $5 to $7 million per year in surcharges on their monthly bills. Those funds go straight to PG&E, which is administering them currently under a partnership with the Department of the Environment. The city is therefore already involved in implementing a number of energy efficiency programs in the city. The importance of the funds for the program under the implementation plan and both CCA ordinances, the supplier under the CCA deal is required to roll out 107 megawatts of energy efficiency and conservation measures. Now, these measures can be financed with H-bonds under the city charter. However, the accumulation of these funds over the course of 10 years would be $50 to $70 million. Over a 20-year duration, which is likely to be the approximate length of the CCA agreement, you're talking about a lot of money. And so if you're at $7 million a year, you're $140 million in funding that would support energy efficiency programs in the city. It's quite a substantial fund. Now, under the current CPUC regulations, the commissioners have acknowledged this language in AB 117. In their most recent ruling, they said that they would wait for a CCA to come and apply to administer the funds. Now, San Francisco, to my knowledge, has not yet done so. Maybe Ms. Hale might update us on recent activity. I know that the judge in the proceeding at the CPUC has recently invited comments from CCAs interested in administering the funds. There will be a workshop in November, so the time is right now for the city, and this is our main recommendation, for the city to aggressively pursue administration of those funds, and then ultimately to schedule a termination of the current PG&E partnership with SFDOE in a manner that would ensure a seamless transition for that agency. Now, there's two issues there. One is the funding stream for SFDOE employees. They're currently supported by the PGC funds administered by PG&E. So once the partnership terminates, their funding terminates for those staff, and there would need to be a fairly seamless transition plan so that the partnership program would terminate on the same date that the new CCA funds arrived, or some way to supplement the funds. It's an issue. The transition is an issue for that agency and for their customers who are accustomed to receiving their services, and a disruption of their services would be undesirable. So there's a need for the city to get ahead of itself. The implementation plan adopted last summer directed city departments to go and pursue these funds, and it's pretty important that we kind of get moving now. And we're recommending that LAFCO directly pursue these funds at the CPUC, and that would involve obviously some more discussion as far as the cost of doing so and who should do it. But somebody's got to get over there and start to petition for these funds, or else we're going to end up with potentially with a problem where the funds are not available until a year after we implement the program, and in year one we don't have the funds, or in year two. Currently, the CPUC is preparing to authorize the next 3 years in funding, and so while the city has under the last ordinance 44707, the Board of Supervisors can terminate the partnership by a simple board resolution. It could not do so without damaging the DOE's funding base unless it had some supplemental funding, or unless it had scheduled the transfer of those funds from the CPUC on that date. So you see the kind of gating or timing issue with those funds. It's very significant for the program, and we need to get ahead of ourselves on that issue. So that the current, just to let you know, the current PG&E partnership is slated for $16.7 million over the next 3 years. So it's really not, it's a significant amount of money. All right, next subject is in-city distribution developments, and there are a number of parameters here. As you all know, the voters will vote on the new Prop H very shortly, And should Prop H be adopted, that will create a financing authority to acquire distribution facilities in San Francisco. It's a very direct authority. Under the language in that legislation, the CCA program will go ahead either way. Either if H is adopted, then the CCA process will plan a transition to public power, which would involve acquisition or development of distribution assets and other assets. If H does not pass, then the CCA program would go ahead based on its limited financing authority for distribution facilities. There are a number of factors relative to distribution. The main issue is, as always, is how do you finance it? We were talking about the Golden Gate tidal facility requiring a power line. That power line would somehow have to be financed by the city. And so there has been a recommendation of using potentially the H-bond authority to finance power lines for renewable energy only facilities, and we believe that the H-bond authority could be used in that capacity, in that limited capacity. That is the 2001 H-bond authority, existing H-bond authority. Short of that, there has been a proposal at the Board of Supervisors to use Mello-Roos bonds in relation to power distribution, and we believe there are some opportunities there as well. There are a number of restrictions within Mello-Roos, but there are also, we believe, opportunities to use Mello-Roos bonds in San Francisco. I know there's been interest up in Sonoma County to use them for thermal purposes, and one of the factors that rises within a CCA is a crossover between power and non-power, such as with cogeneration. That is, we're including cogeneration as a power supply source here, but generally speaking, cogeneration would be classed as a gas efficiency measure. And so in the case of the use of H-bonds for renewable energy facilities, you could also potentially use Mello-Roos bonds for thermal facilities within a CCA. It's a little further out, but it's just something to keep in your bag of financing authorities as you go forward. So we're recommending that the city should look at the use of H-bonds and other financial vehicles to finance distribution lines within the city of San Francisco, and that in particular it should look at them for purposes of potentially connecting a Golden Gate tidal power facility. Beyond that facility, there's a potential for developing offshore wind and offshore wave power in the longer term, which could use the same transmission line. So the Golden Gate tidal facility cable could end up being a gateway to those other offshore facilities and could be built with extra capacity for that purpose.